And because, of course it would, my computer was just like, nah, you don't need to stream anymore. But we're back. I'm not gonna let the forces of nature take me down, silence me. Absolutely not. So, where were we? Oh, gosh darn it. Hold on. Whoops. Okay, we're good. Yeah. So we were getting into some of the shenanigans that James Gunn is pulling, trying to make things more confusing. So it looks like this was on Instagram, where somebody says, "Cannot wait to see what you're cooking up." That being said, the move to boot Cavill and Godot, especially after they'd announced their return, doesn't inspire confidence. And then James Gunn says, "I'm not sure where you're getting that we booted Gal." And, gee, I don't know, James. Maybe we're getting that from, the reality that Cavill is getting booted? Maybe that's where we got it, right? The insinuation that this is going to be a reboot of the DC universe. Maybe that's where we're getting it. Because, again, if you're seriously going to tell me that they're making the decision to get rid of Cavill but keep Gal Gadot and Zachary Levi, I don't want to be on the internet for that discourse. I don't want to participate in that. Quite frankly. Like, I wouldn't really care all that much at the end of the day. But I don't want to participate in that discourse. And even if they are going to end up keeping Godot, unless you're going to come out and plainly say what your plan is, why are you responding to people on social media with stuff like this? Like, because he's not directly saying that they're doing more Wonder Woman movies with Gal Gadot. I mean, this could just mean that, well, booted, that's a bit of a harsh term. Blah, 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 blah. We didn't boot her. I mean, we are relieving her of her duties, but she didn't get booted. It's just like, I don't know, man. I really want all these vagaries to end and just get a clear plan, like exactly what their decisions are going to be. Because it is getting annoying at this point, but we'll just have to wait and see. Again, we still have another year of movies to come out, and we're probably not going to get clear answers until Aquaman 2 is in the rearview mirror. But either way, we'll have to wait and see. All right, moving on with some other stories. Hugh Jackman, basically, he's confirming that Deadpool 3 will not mess with Logan. So he says here, when talking about how Wolverine coming back in Deadpool 3 is going to work, he says, "It's all because of this device they have in the Marvel world of moving around timelines." Jackman said of his return, "Now we can go back because, it's science." So I don't have to screw with the Logan timeline, which was important to me and I think probably to the fans too. So, yeah, I never thought this was really much of an issue because even if it is in the same timeline as Logan, like Logan took place in 2029. So presumably whatever happens in this movie takes place before Logan and isn't going to mess with that ending at all. So, yeah, I mean, I was never really too worried about this, but I guess it's nice to get some assurance. It's nice to have information delivered to us clearly and concisely. But, okay. Next up, we have a poster for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Interesting things to note here. Right here, we see pretty clearly a Spectacular Spider-Man. That is super hype for me. Of course, if you don't know, Spectacular Spider-Man is one of the I feel, well, among like Spider-Man super fans. I mean, obviously Spectacular Spider-Man isn't underrated, but I feel like just as far as like general audiences are concerned, I don't know if as many people really know how good this show is. Yeah, I mean, Spectacular Spider-Man for me is the best Spider-Man cartoon. I think it's one of the better iterations of the character just in general. And yeah, to see him front and center on the poster like this is awesome. I hope he has more of a role and isn't just like a 5 second cameo. But either way, we also have the PS4 Spider-Man here, pretty plainly visible here. Um, I will say I'm a little hesitant about the PS4 Spider-Man only because I really appreciate the PS4 Spider-Man as its own thing that doesn't have to interact or interconnect with a bunch of other properties. Like, I am getting a little annoyed by all the multiverse stuff that the MCU is doing. Um, and I really do enjoy that this, as of right now, the Insomniac Spider Man kind of stands alone. So I am just a little hesitant to see him get involved in a bunch of multiverse interconnectedness. But I mean, either way, that's of course I'm gonna pop in the audience when when I see this man swinging through. Um, yeah, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other cool stuff in the background, but I don't recognize anybody. But yeah, obviously, Across the Spider Verse is extremely hype, and we gonna get it in June. All right, next up, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania director, hyping up his movie. So, interesting quote in this Entertainment Weekly interview. He says, "People felt like, oh, these are fun little palate cleansers after a gigantic Avengers movie," says Reed. In regards to his other Ant-Man movies. For this third one, I said, I don't want to be the palate cleanser anymore. I want to be the big Avengers movie. So that's an interesting quote there because I, I'm not entirely certain how to take it. Obviously, one way to take it is that he's basically saying that, you know, people can, or we're going to see just a bunch of cameos. You're going to see a bunch of Avengers coming through portals. And maybe that's what he means. But I tend to believe that really what he means is just that it's going to be a larger scale movie that's going to have like long lasting consequences that will be felt throughout the MCU. I don't know that it necessarily means that we're going to get a bunch of cameos from other Avengers. But maybe this is the next sort of Captain America Civil War level film. It could be. And then there's another bit here. He says, one of the single most intriguing things that I was excited to do in this movie was progress the Scott-Cassie relationship. It's been central to all the Ant-Man movies, the big difference here being that, as a result of Endgame, Cassie is now a young woman. She has become a scientific mind in her own right, she's been going through Hank Pym's old journals and notebooks, and has really latched onto this idea of quantum science and quantum technology. So, yeah, basically, I mean, that's kind of, at least for me, basically saying, yeah, Cassie Lang is going to be, like, the next Ant-Man going on in the MCU. Like, kind of in the same way that we're seeing, Haley Steinfeld playing Kate Bishop, which is, going to be sort of the Hawkeye in the MCU. Once Hawkeye himself is sort of Jeremy Renner retires from the role. I think, what we're seeing with Ironheart, with Falcon taking over the Shield. This is basically telling me that she's gonna be like be the next sort of ant person that is a major player in the MCU. Let's see. I think there was another interesting thing here. Okay, so here he says, I grew up a real Marvel Comics nerd, and there are a handful of antagonists in the Marvel Comics universe who are all-timers, says Reed. Loki, obviously, Doctor Doom from Fantastic Four, and Kang the Conqueror. In conversations with Kevin Feige and Marvel, I was like, I want to put Ant-Man and Wasp up against a really formidable villain in this movie. And so we're doing Kang the Conqueror. In the comics, Kang has dominion over time. He's a time traveler. His situation is a little bit different in this movie, which I won't spoil for you, but he's someone who, while we live very linear lives from childhood to death, Kang doesn't exist that way. It struck to me as interesting to take the tiniest Avengers, in some people's minds maybe the least powerful Avengers, and put them up against the most powerful force in the multiverse. So he's basically confirming that yeah, Kang is the most powerful person in the multiverse, right? Not just the universe like Thanos was, but the multiverse. Now, I mean, I don't know what that means. Like, if he's more powerful than like the super ultra Ultron that was in What If, because I don't know. I don't really know how What If connects to all of this. That seems to be like one of those properties that's sort of more disconnected from everything else. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to note that. I mean, that's not surprising considering he's going to be the villain in the Avengers, Kang Dynasty, and Secret Wars, presumably. And yeah, oh, okay. And then here, there's another thing. Bill Murray plays a character from Janet Van Dyne's past, says Reed. It's a crucial role. A big theme in this movie is the things that parents and kids don't say to each other, the secrets that they keep in families. In the last movie, when Hank and Hope rescue Janet, Evangeline Lilly's character had this idea of, oh, I'm going to be reunited with my mom. This is going to be great. We're going to talk about everything. But what happens if the other person, in this case Janet, puts up a wall and maybe is not comfortable talking about certain things and doesn't reveal certain things about her past? As we know from great stories, you can put the past behind you, but the past will always find a way to show up again. Bill's character represents that in this movie. So, yeah, I think that's interesting that, kind of, I think this was a theory that people had, but I don't think it was ever confirmed that Bill Murray would be playing somebody from Janet's past. And this is also insinuating that there's going to be a bit of an uneasy relationship with Hope and her mom. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in this Ant-Man movie. I can't say I'm excited for it necessarily, just because I'm not huge on the first two Ant-Man movies. Like, they were fine, but they're not like, oh my gosh, wow, raise the roof, it's on fire, this movie is hot, this movie's lit. It's not that for me. So I don't know why I decided to do that, but yeah, either way, I'm definitely excited to see how, what this movie does as far as the ramifications that we see for the MCU. So they have my interest. All right, next up. Charlie Cox coming out, saying some interesting stuff about Daredevil Born Again. So, in regards to its maturity, he says this. This character works best when he's geared towards a slightly more mature audience. My instinct is that on Disney Plus, it will be dark, but it probably won't be as gory. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, I think Disney Plus proved with Andor that they can tell like mature stories that are, compelling and stuff. But even on Andor, which is probably the darkest show that they've done so far, yeah, like you weren't seeing anybody getting their head beat in with a car door. That just wasn't a thing in that show. So yeah, I think that's basically what we're going to get from the show. I think it will hopefully have a more mature tone. I don't think it'll be as jokey as She-Hulk. I mean, maybe it will, but I don't think they're going to go that route. But I also don't think it's going to be as gory as She-Hulk. That I think that makes sense. Okay, so then now looking at this article, we have the filming plans for Daredevil Born Again. So remember, this is an 18 episode first season, which is insane. I mean, I don't know why I keep winning. All these Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill fans crying their eyeballs out, like, well, we're not getting what we want. Me, I am getting what I want, okay? James Gunn, not messing with Matt Reeves as of right now. Winning 18 episode first season run of Daredevil? Winning? I haven't done anything good in my life ever, really. I don't understand why the universe keeps on rewarding me. Oh, I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit weird. I don't deserve this, but I'm not going to complain. So basically what they said is that Daredevil's going to be filming in 2023, right? And Charlie Cox says, they said to me, we're going to be shooting in 2023. I said, great, when? They said, all 2023. I start shooting in February and finish in December. That's kind of crazy. I mean, it's 18 episodes. I'm not going to lie. I think it's kind of weird that they're putting these many resources into Daredevil, that they're giving like Daredevil of all characters like this much importance to, just because like, again, like you look at like these huge characters, right? Like Loki only got 6 episodes, Hawkeye, original Avenger, only got 6 episodes. Like why they decided to go, Daredevil, 18 episodes. I don't really understand it, but Daredevil's my personal favorite superhero, so I'll take it. Listen, I ain't gonna complain. You take what you get, and you be grateful for it. Now, hopefully, it's good. Disney Plus, that's not a surefire thing. I'll say that. But man, if we get a fantastic 18 episode run of Daredevil, are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? But hey, we'll see what comes from this. All right, next up. Looks like The Flash is indeed coming out, and they are going to be at the Super Bowl. The Wrap is reporting that. This is wow. They're hitting me with that monthly article limit on air. That's garbage. Okay, whatever. I can still read it. Yeah, so basically on February 12th, during the Super Bowl, we're gonna get a trailer for The Flash. All right. A lot of people have been, I think, really silly about this whole thing. Basically saying that, like, oh, you're getting rid of Henry Cavill and you're getting rid of everybody else, but you're keeping Ezra Miller as Flash. And no, that's not what they're doing. They're not going to just outright cancel the Flash movie because they already shot it. But you're high if you think that they're going to be making more Flash movies with Ezra Miller. Don't get it twisted. Ezra Miller will no longer be the Flash. But they already shot this movie. So, they already spent like $200 million on it. So obviously they're going to release it. So yeah, I don't know. People are definitely being weird about it. Ezra Miller is canceled. He's not going to be the Flash anymore. I know if James Gunn does come out and keep him as Flash, then yes, he should be criticized. They should be criticized. I will be here criticizing them. But it's not going to happen. So let's not come out with these bad comparisons, being like, oh, you're kicking out Henry Cavill, but you're keeping Ezra Miller. They're not keeping Ezra Miller. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that. Okay, next up, pretty interesting tweet from James Gunn. So basically, someone asked him, hey, James, any plans for Deathstroke and the DCU? And James Gunn says, could be, ... Now, I would just like to come out and say that I'm just going to throw this out here. James Gunn has said that they want Ben Affleck to direct a DC movie, and that Ben Affleck wants to direct a DC movie for them. Now, again, just throwing this out there, Ben Affleck did write a Batman script. James Gunn did say that Batman was going to be a big part of their DC universe. Apparently, the villain of that Batman script was Deathstroke. And apparently, that I haven't read the script, but apparently the script is also fantastic. I've been just kind of throwing out into the universe that maybe we could see Ben Affleck direct that script, but that, that obviously modified to fit into this new DC universe. I don't think we're going to see Ben Affleck as Batman. I don't think that's going to be a thing, but, get a new Batman in this DC universe, and maybe we can get that script that he wrote. I'm throwing that out there, okay? At the very least, James Gunn should just do it to appease the Snyder people. but yeah, we'll see what comes from that. In other news, water is wet. Sony exec confirms that the next live-action Spider-Man movie is happening. Yeah, so basically he says, or let me just read this here. When asked whether the studio has plans for another Spider-Man film, the executive responded, "You bet. When can you expect it? I don't know. Serve no wine before it's time," Rothman said. So, not too much to glean from that. Technically, he isn't even confirming that Tom Holland is coming back, but I mean, I think he will be. Spider-Man No Way Home made so much money that, I mean, either way, of course there's going to be a new Spider-Man movie, even if it isn't Tom Holland. I mean, obviously, of course there's going to be another one. But, I mean, yeah, I guess I'll just take this opportunity to say that I do think it will be with Tom Holland. And honestly, I just want Tom Holland to have his own movie where he's not sort of in the shadow of other characters, the first two movies, he was kind of in the shadow of Tony Stark. In the third movie, he was kind of in the shadow of all the references and cameos of the old Spider-Man. And I loved what the end of that movie teased, where Peter Parker is a lot more grown up. He's kind of on his own, actually on his own. He's having to make his own suit and all that. And I want to see that Spider-Man movie, and hopefully we do see it. But yeah, either way, of course we're gonna get another Spider-Man movie. Okay, next up, looks like there's a new Avatar animated series in the works, set after Legend of Korra. So this is according to Avatar News. I'm not sure how reputable that website is, but CBR is reporting on it, so we'll talk about it. So yeah, according to Avatar News, the next animated series in the Avatar universe, focusing on an earthbender who succeeds Aang and Korra as the Avatar, is currently in the works at Avatar Studios and Paramount. The new series is said to be targeting a 2025 launch. Moreover, Avatar News reports that an animated movie featuring this new Earth Avatar in their era is coming to theaters in the years after the show comes out. While the Avatar-centric news outlet has no specific information regarding the film's release window at this time, it does claim that it won't be an insanely long wait. So, yeah, I am very excited about everything as coming from Avatar Studios. I mean, so if you don't remember, basically, after the original show creators were booted from that live-action, Netflix show, they kind of went to Paramount, who owns the Avatar licensing and all that. And Paramount gave them an entire studio to develop animated Avatar content. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Apparently we're supposed to be getting multiple series, multiple films, animated, of course, set within the original canon of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. And I personally, obviously I'm a lot more excited about that than whatever Netflix is doing. I mean, I'll give the Netflix show a shot, I'm not gonna just throw it off just because they kind of clashed with the original creators. Maybe it'll be good in its own right, but yeah, definitely can't wait to see what comes from the original team. Now, as far as I think they said something else here, right? Okay. I thought I'll be honest, I probably should have looked over this before recording, but I thought I read somewhere that it's going to be set like 100 years after after Korra, and that the period that it's set in is going to be like very similar to our modern day. But I don't see that here necessarily, so I'm not gonna speak too highly about it. Oh yeah, okay, oh, here it is. After News currently has no information regarding how far in the future the new Avatar series will be set. However, the outlet does have an interesting tidbit regarding the show's potential setting. A very rough approximation based on previous avatars is that if it's set 100 years after Korra's time, it will be in the Avatar world's equivalent of our world's present day. Oh, okay, so that's just them predicting that they don't have any solid information on that. But yeah, I guess that could be interesting. I mean, I think what we really saw in Korra that I thought was interesting was seeing how bending becomes like less and less relevant, I guess, as technology progresses. And yeah, I mean, is like I think it would be really cool to see like what place does bending have in a world that is like our today. Like what is bending gonna do against a gun? I think that's gonna be a lot of fun to mess around with. So yeah, I can't wait for this. All right, next up, Netflix is planning a Stranger Things Tokyo anime series spinoff. So details on. Or I guess I'll just read some of this. For a while now, the Duffer Brothers teased that we would be further venturing into the Upside Down with a spin-off of some description before or after the conclusion of the flagship series. Now we've learned that one of the spin-off shows is set to be an anime series called Stranger Things Tokyo. An encounter with the Upside Down evolves into a grand adventure for video game-loving twin brothers living on the outskirts of 1980s Tokyo. Yeah, so I think this could be potentially interesting. Obviously, we saw with Stranger Things, the past 2 seasons, they've kind of been expanding the world, right? They've gone to like Russia and stuff. So yeah, I think going to different countries and seeing all the stuff, all the supernatural stuff that happens with them, further developing the world, I think could be cool. And I think doing an animated thing is also going to be cool. So yeah, I will be interesting to see what comes of this. Next up, we have Kojima saying that his Death Stranding movie won't be a big budget blockbuster. So yeah, according to IGN, Kojima revealed he turned down offers of a high budget production due to his vision for the Death Stranding adaptation. He says, I was on video calls with lots of people in Hollywood every week beginning last year, and not just for Death Stranding. I think that's an interesting tidbit to put there. I received a lot of offers, but my intention from the start was to never make a blockbuster film. So I think this is really good to hear, honestly. I think that for Kojima, right, somebody that's never made a movie before, I think starting with something smaller scale is good, right? Like, obviously he's going to be heavily involved in this, and you don't necessarily want to do like a $200 million blockbuster as your first movie. So I think this is a really smart thing to do for him. And also, I mean, if his vision just is for a smaller movie anyways, right? Kind of wanting to get away from the sort of tropes that have maybe brought down a lot of other adaptations and just make a movie, not necessarily an adaptation, but make a movie that makes sense to be a movie. Yeah, I think that's good news for the prospects of this. So next up, we have a couple more tweets to get through to wrap up the show. So basically, someone asked James Gunn, are you open to producing any Elseworlds DC projects that aren't set in the DCU? He says that is actively happening. Now, I admittedly don't put too much stock in this. Sorry, my camera turned off. And that's mostly just because we already know of Elseworlds DC movies that are happening, right? Joker, Folly Ado, and everything going on in the Matt Reeves Batman verse. So I don't know if this isn't confirmation to me that we're gonna get more of that. I mean, I think we will, for sure. Like I think we will. But this tweet doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. Okay. Next up, last story of the day. So we got the Invincible Twitter account saying, so this is the last month we won't have a season 2 update for you. Basically with that, obviously it's the month of December, and this is basically saying, hey, in January, we're going to have some updates for you. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I absolutely adored the first season of Invincible. I think it might be the best adaptation that I've ever seen. I mean, it was just a perfect adaptation of that comic. I think it made changes where it needed to make changes for the better. Or maybe not for the better, but especially actually now that I think about it, not with Amber. But it made changes in ways that didn't make me upset. is what I should say. And it was great. It was a great adaptation. So definitely can't wait for season 2. All right, that was the end of this episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. Let me know what you thought of any and all of the other of the stories that we talked about today. It's not my day today, but you know what? We pushed through because I love you personally. You, Jeffrey, I love you, and I do this for you. I really should just stop, shouldn't I?